And we are here, episode triple digits, officially reached episode 100. Uh,
It's
it's
only
a
halfway to my
decent
age.
accomplishment. Yeah, decent accomplishment. I'm happy to obviously reach this kind of milestone with the podcast, but um, Zach will hopefully be joining us soon. But for right now, it is myself, Matt Couture, Benny Ball Game Dirt, in his new hat called Pops. Ben, how you doing?
I'm good. It was an early start to the day, uh, kind of zombie like today, but I'm excited. We've got real meaningful Patriots football in call it 72 hours for the first time in 4 years. Um, 2022, 23, 24. They really didn't have any meaningful games that they played at the end of their season. Obviously, this is the first time they've made the postseason in 4 years. So yes, I mean, 72 hours from now, first real meaningful football game, or I shouldn't say first because we've had meaningful games this year. I would say that the most meaningful game that we've had in the last four seasons, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be back. I mean, it was. I mean, not that compared to many other teams around the NFL, they just live in misery. But it was a pretty miserable 5 year stretch uh, between the Belichick sagas and going around and Mac Jones and Jacoby
Matt
Brissett and
Patricia.
Cam Newton and Matt Patricia. It was a rough 5 years. We are seemingly back in terms of being a top contender and probably the top contender for this foreseeable future. In terms of, and then I guess that's where we could kind of start. I mean, in terms of like going around the league, all things considered, whether it went from coach to quarterback to roster to cap space and all that, would you say the Patriots arguably have the best overall situation right now?
They're definitely in the conversation. I know that it's been kind of a weird year for Buffalo, but I mean, it's kind of hard to argue that they're not in a good situation. I mean, I know just because being a Pats fan, it goes around the circles that they have a ton of cap space going into 2026. But the 2026 season, I should say. Obviously, here we are. It's January 8th, so we're already in 2026. But um, it's kind of hard to argue that they're not in a pretty sweet situation. Vrabel's 50. You have I'm gonna say probable. Matt, I know you're way into more in the corner of Drake May being the MVP than probably anybody else that I've encountered on social media or talked to. Um, so I'll just say probable, very possible you have an MVP quarterback at the age of 23. Um, Maybe I'll fire up the old Chat GPT and figure out if a quarterback has ever won the MVP this young before. Um, but I mean, if there's a younger quarterback than Drake May winning the MVP, the list is probably very very short of quarterbacks who won an MVP at his age. Um, so there like any other team, they'll certainly have to answer some questions in the offseason with certain decision making. I mean, obviously Diggs, your number one wide receiver is 31. And I understand that he did get slow walked early in the season, but you know, he eclipsed 1,000 yards, which isn't really what it used to be in the NFL. 1,000 yards and 4 to 6 touchdowns isn't really that elite anymore. The elite guys are getting 12, 13, 1,400 yards and they're approaching 10
Especially
digit
in 17
touchdowns.
game seasons.
Exactly. And so, but even nitpicking and being like, oh, like, well, what do they do at wide receiver? It's like, well, and again, I haven't really, dived into the free agent situation coming up in the new league year, but I mean, it's really hard to argue that, you know, other teams have a much better situation than the Patriots. You know, again, like Buffalo's still there. Denver obviously has the coach and the young up and coming quarterback. I like our quarterback better. That's not a homer stance. I just, you know, I think that Bo Nix kind of plateaued. Like he played so many games in college that like I'm not really sure if he has another level in him. Who knows? But there's a very short list of teams who I think are really in an advantageous situation with, a good coach that's offensive minded, with the money that they're going to have moving forward, and a young, cheap guy. They don't have to worry about paying for a while. That'll be the day when we start having conversations on this podcast 4 years from now, when it comes time to figure out how many dollar signs are going to be attached to the Drake May extension. I mean, they're in
the next
they're
offseason.
well, they can extend him starting next year, but I don't know if they're
I mean,
And
we
I'm
could
sorry,
break right into that.
misspoke.
Like,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean 4 years. No, I meant in his fourth season. Because
yeah,
if
yeah.
I had to guess, I mean, and it's really hard because it's a different operation now. If this was still Belichick, you know, Drake May wouldn't sniff an extension until 2028, 2029. I don't know if my math is right on that, because Bill would basically exercise his 5th-year option and then punt on the extension for another year. Um, who knows with this current regime? We'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to feel like there's many teams, if any, that are in a better situation than the Patriots are right now.
No, and that's looking around the league. Even the thing is, like, he is the best young quarterback out there, and by young I mean like 25 and under. There's obviously still
Yeah,
the elites of Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is going to be 30 this year or next year or something like that. I forget his exact age. Like,
and
he's getting
for
into
him
his
specific, and
he's
he's coming off an ACL surgery.
yeah, like, and not that 30 is old for a quarterback, but like you're getting into your 30s. Like, it's not, it doesn't get easier for the average quarterback in your 30s,
No,
unless you're Tom Brady. And then you got a
at least
head
not
coach in
average.
Kansas City that could
Mahomes
have.
turned 30 in September, for the record, so he'll be
Okay,
31 early next year.
yeah. So Andy Reid is in his late 60s, mid to late 60s or something like that, and so like he could have 1 or 2 more years max. Same thing like Josh Allen. Sean McDermott's I think an okay coach. He might even get fired if they lose this weekend. There's a lot of whispers that could be a situation to watch. And then Josh Allen, same thing. Like, he's 30 years old now. Like, so it's tough to look really anywhere and say that there's a better situation than the
This is me
current situation with the
This is me
Patriots.
closing the window.
Yeah. uh, and I mean, speaking of the extension talk, like, I was actually thinking about this the other day. I meant to post it, but I didn't. I would go to him in next off season, and I mean, I would do like a Mahomes type deal. Like, I really would. But at minimum, like, I would offer him 5 years, $300 million, 60 million a year,
So I think you have to go higher than that. And the only reason I say that is
maybe.
because Dak Prescott makes 60 a year. So you'd have to
Does
you'd have
he?
to yeah, it's less total dollars. So like Josh Allen in terms of total dollars, I'm sorry, Patrick Mahomes in terms of total dollars makes the most, but it was a 10-year, $450 million contract. So yes, raw dollars. However, Patrick Mahomes is like the 13th highest paid quarterback this year, based on
All right, so
an annual value.
I'll give him an 8 year, $480 million deal.
Yeah, you'd have to go. I mean, let's just say
Oh,
you'd say 8 years.
that's still 60 million a year.
Yeah. See, so I mean, he would. I mean, and
All
it's
right,
really hard.
you know
Like,
what I mean. But you get what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
I would give him really anything he wants.
yeah,
uh, obviously within a semi reason. Um, and I mean, who knows? Like, he kind of feels like a guy that would make maybe not push to be like the top guy. It's
it,
tough to predict because
yeah.
like
It's
they kind of
hard.
have they kind of have like an obligation to
Well, yeah,
like
I mean,
be
you're
that
talking
guy.
about.
And
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Felger and Maz talked about this yesterday, the day before, where it's like, and of course, like they're a little bit more doom and gloom, not doom and gloom, but they're a little bit more negative in that respect. But their opinion was there's nothing that gives off the impression that Drake Maye would take quote unquote less than market value to spend the money elsewhere. And obviously, so if
No,
in this, but I don't think at the same time, I don't think that there's anything that said like he's not a diva. Like, you know, just to compare and contrast guys from the same draft class. Like, if you were to pick, like, if you were going to say which quarterback would be more likely to take a team friendly deal versus what guy just wants the bag, Drake Maye or Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams screams to me like, just give me the friggin' money. Whereas Drake Maye is like,
yeah,
okay, like Drake Maye, like you could at least fathom a scenario where he'd be like, if you give me more than $50 million a year, cool. And then just like, I could see him doing that where it's like, just give me something close to the top of the market. And I don't know what the top of the market's going to look like because I don't know if there's any big name quarterbacks that are up before him. I mean, Bo Nix by default because he was drafted. No, Nix was the same draft class. Who was the draft class for Drake Maye? Who was in the 23 class?
CJ Stroud,
Was that Stroud and Bryce Young?
perhaps.
And who was
They might have
2022?
been 22.
Because Mac Jones was 21. That was Mac Jones, Justin Fields. Who was the 2022 class? I'm trying to think of those guys that were drafted in 2022 or 2023 that would quote unquote set the market because the 2021 guys have already gotten their contracts. Like Trevor Lawrence already got his second contract.
2022 was the year that
that was
Oh,
Kenny
that was
Pickett. Oh, Brock Purdy already got paid, but he got paid in the third year. But like no, okay, so in 2023 QB class, that's going to be Stroud. I mean,
yeah, that's Bryce Young, Stroud.
so 2026 for those two guys will be huge. In terms of would either one of those guys be a market-setting quarterback? But yeah, I mean, with Drake Maye, it's like if you can come close, I could at least envision a scenario where he'd be willing to work with the team and. I mean,
Yeah,
again, he's also number 3 overall pick. It's not, you can't compare him to Brady, and it's the only thing you can compare him to in this conversation. But you're talking about a number 3 overall pick who had been hyped for 2 years before he got drafted as possibly being one of the next guys, along with Caleb Williams, and obviously where Tom Brady, like, he's a 6th round draft pick. He got passed over at Michigan. He was passed over 198 times by other teams. So obviously way different situation, but to your point, I could see it. I could at least envision a scenario where he'd be like, yeah, like give me what I'm worth, but I don't need to set the market. I could and I'm not saying that he's not going to do that, but if you look at him or, Caleb Williams, no, Caleb Williams is just going to want the biggest contract from whoever's going to give it to him. I just think that at least Drake Maye gives off the impression that he might be wired a little differently than somebody who just wants money versus win.
Yeah, and again, like it's not like we have like really any actual proof to like make you feel that way, but it just kind of comes down to like there are certain guys where you're like you can tell like they don't really care to show off and show the fashion or look like they're spending money type of thing, like. And Drake Maye kind of just gives you the vibes of like you said, it's like, I need to get my money, but like, what is 50 million to 60 million type of thing.
Yeah. Like, I don't think Drake Maye's going to walk. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. Where he's going to be hard, playing hardball to scrape the extra $500,000 a year to get the top of the food chain of a top of the market deal, just to say that he's the highest. Like, I don't think he's going to care about that type of stuff, especially since his wife is now got her own cooking channel.
Oh, I did not hear
beyond,
that. The queen of Bakemas is making strides.
Yeah, she's doing Beyond Bakemas with NBC Boston. She's doing a little cooking show with them. So that she's bringing her own bucks too. So we got our future Giselle and Tom Brady here, where it's a dual income household.
Except for, I think this would be the opposite in terms of money. Like Giselle was making 10 times what Brady, well, not 10, but you get like 5 times.
Yeah, Brady was making like 25, 30, and she was making like 50 million a year.
No, she was over 100
in a prime. Really?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but anyways, I do want to get into the two main topics here for the Patriots, and as you mentioned earlier, the MVP conversation has been in full force this week, myself included. Um, what are your thoughts here on it in terms of who you feel is deserving and how that like who do you think is going to win?
So that's kind of where I was going to go with this. Is like, who do I think is? I mean, being the semantical guy that I am, both Matt Stafford and Drake May are deserving of the MVP. In my opinion, if you go off of, like if you actually dive in and look at the metrics and look at the stats, if you were to just cover up the picture of both quarterbacks and put the stats up side by side, I think that you would hear some similar talking points that you hear now. You would hear, okay, well, you say quarterback A is Matt Stafford, quarterback B is Drake May, but you don't know who's who. You're just doing a side by side stat comparison. I think you can look at it and go, okay, well, quarterback A has more total touchdowns, more yards. They were both equal in their turnovers. I think they both had a total of 11 or 12 turnovers this year. They both had 8 interceptions, and I think both of them had a few fumbles. People would say, okay, well, this guy's got more yards, more touchdowns, same number of turnovers. And then
More passing yards only, not total.
that's not correct. Matt Stafford has more
That is
passing yards. Matt Stafford has more passing yards than Drake May has total yards.
no, that's not correct.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. No, it
So
isn't. Stafford has like 4,700 ish passing yards. May has like 48 something total yards.
no, he only has like 400 yards rushing. He's just behind Matt Stafford.
You think I've been having these conversations for the last 5 days on Twitter, and I don't know the total yards. Mays had like 4,300 or 4,400 something like that passing yards. He had 450 rushing yards. His total yardage is in the 4,800s. It's above Stafford.
So 4,394 passing.
Plus
And
450 rushing.
4,394, 450. Oh, so it's 100 more yards. Okay, fine. My mistake. So yeah, so more total yards.
Stupid.
But in any case, so for some reason I thought he was at like 4,600 total yards. But anyway, but like you look at it and you go like he had more passing yards. The total yards were, call it, a wash. But I think it's when you peel the layers back and you look at, and I'm not going to list off all the acronyms because I don't know them. They escape me in my old age. I don't take my pills when I read, and I don't retain information because I'm old. But I know when you dive into certain things like the completion percentage, which again is not really an advanced metric, but you look at like EPA and you look at like, what is it, like CPOE and all these other, ABC, XYZ things. It's very clear and obvious that Drake May has the edge. I don't know all the ins and outs of the advanced metrics, so I'm not sure, like, is it a big edge or a small edge? But if you look at it, really the only thing you can objectively say Matt Stafford has the edge over Drake May in would be yards and touchdowns. And I'm talking total yards, total touchdowns. I'm sorry,
not total
yards. It's
passing
It's
yards.
passing yards and total touchdowns. Because I don't even think with his 12 rushing yards, I don't think Matt Stafford passes Drake May in total yards. But that's the objective.
12? I thought it was -2.
Oh, I don't know what it is. I just know.
I want to say he has -2 rushing yards.
That sounds about right.
Or like -1.
Because he doesn't run, and I'm sure, and he's had a handful of kneel downs. But digressing, it's objective to say that Stafford had more passing yards and more touchdowns. That's obvious. But beyond that, there's really no argument to be made from a statistical standpoint that Matt Stafford was better than Drake May. And then you can go into more of the intangible stuff. Who is in a better situation? I would say, the coach might be a little bit of a wash, although McVay is way more established and has had more success than Vrabel has. But I think that they're both roughly in the same tier of quality of coach, in my opinion. McVay definitely has the edge because McVay's been to 2 Super Bowls. He has a ring, and he's like half of Vrabel's age. It's not that bad, but it's close. But so Stafford has an edge in the coaching a little bit, but it's glaring that he has better weapons to throw the ball to. I would argue he probably has, like, I would say that in the running back room, I think the Patriots running back room is deeper, but Kyren Williams is the best running back on the field if those two teams are playing off against each other, in my opinion. It's
Right
not a
now, probably.
it's not right. It's not a huge gap, but I would say that the Patriots have a legit 1-2 punch. I think that there's a significant gap when you go from Kyren Williams to either Blake Corum or Jarquez Hunter. More so Corum, because I don't think Hunter really saw the field much this year. But better running back, starting running back, better weapons to throw the ball to, and I would say at least a discernible edge in the offensive line. If not for anything else, that they've been healthy the entire season. Obviously, Will Campbell just missed the last month with his PCL or whatever, MCL, whatever it was. And so the overall situation on offense is better for Matt Stafford, as evidenced by the fact that the Patriots, I think, ranked third in total offense this year, and the Rams were number one. And so there's really, again, like, you really have to dig deep to try to find ways to justify Matt Stafford as being more deserving than Drake May. Now, the other side of this is, right, you have the human element of Matt Stafford's 37, and whether he retires or not, this year, retirement's on the horizon. Most quarterbacks don't play past their late 30s or 40. It's very rare. Like, Aaron Rodgers is probably hanging it up. He's 41, 42. Brady, obviously, being one of the lone exceptions. I think guys like Jim Plunkett played till he was 46, but that was back when quarterbacks weren't taking hits. It was just they handed the ball off 3 times, so their careers lasted longer. So Matt Stafford's, retirement's on the horizon. Like, would I be incredibly shocked? Say the Rams go win the Super Bowl this year, and Matt Stafford a week later goes, "Thanks for a great career. I'm riding out in the sunset." I don't blame the guy. 37 years old, 2 rings, future Hall of Famer, set for life with money, smoke show of a wife, like, awesome family, lives out in LA. Like, it's really hard to complain at that point. But yeah, he's staring at retirement. It's on the horizon. So there's a human element with the voters of, like, okay, well, Drake May's 23, Matt Stafford's 37. There are people who are going to look at it and go, well, Drake May has the next 15 years to win an MVP. Matt Stafford may not have 2. That, I think, will factor in for some people. I think it's a weaker argument because there's no discernible statistical advantage to Matt Stafford over Drake May. So I think that's where the human element really kind of gets into the way. In my opinion, I think Drake May is more deserving. My gut tells me that Matt Stafford's going to end up winning. And I'd like to think it's going to be close. There's 50 voters, but it wouldn't shock me if Matt, and I guess you can rank them 1 through 5. It's not just one vote, which you see in some other sports where you can only vote for one person for certain awards. I think Matt Stafford wins, but I can confidently say that Drake May is a more deserving player. The last thing I'll throw out there, because I'm sure, I don't know if anybody's questioning it, live tweeting online, or it's been out there, they'll comment anyway, the argument about the schedule. And, if you want to look at it in a vacuum, Matt Stafford and Drake May had 6 common opponents. Drake May went 6-0, Matt Stafford went 4-2, and basically every statistic was close. I think Matt Stafford threw 1 more touchdown, and the yards were pretty comparable in those 6 games, but Matt Stafford lost to the Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers, and I'm pretty sure, were they both on the road, or did he lose one of them at home? I know the Falcons game was on the road. I know the Falcons was on the road. Carolina was early in the year. Probably was also on the road, because I don't think LA would have lost to Carolina in LA, but I could be wrong. So I think Drake May is more deserving, but I think in the end, I think that Stafford does end up winning the award.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of the conversation, pretty well there. Going into the advanced metrics, and I'm not the high tech nerd type of fan typically, but in a situation where it's really hard to, like, truly, it's not like baseball where, like, baseball's a lot more black and white, right? It's more
Yeah,
like
because
find,
typically typically the MVP is the guy who has the best stats. And that's just what baseball MVP has turned into. It's the best stats on it. And you look at it like Aaron Judge won the MVP last year, and he overall was a better hitter and was on a team that didn't win the division, because that was a lot of the arguments you were hearing about Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh was, he was had a record setting year, and plays arguably the hardest defensive position, and he helped his team win a division championship, but Aaron Judge still won.
Yeah, it's definitely more black and white in a sport like baseball. In football, this is obviously more of a QB award at this point. Like, very occasionally it goes to someone that's not a QB, and it's usually only because like it happens where none of the QBs have like a legitimate stud season.
Yeah.
This year there's two.
Yeah, and I remember we debated. I remember this vividly, and I'd have to go back and look what year it was. But I remember you like adamantly on social media were talking about how Justin Jefferson should be the MVP of the NFL. It was like his 1,600-yard, like 13 touchdown season or whatever it was. I'd have to go back and look at the exact stats, but it was his best season. And I remember being like, while I agree, the league is not going to vote for a pass catcher when the pass catcher is 100%. Well, I shouldn't say 100, but is predominantly reliant on the success of a quarterback to have those kind of numbers. But just to add to your point, like even sometimes when you have a non-quarterback with an elite stats may not necessarily be good enough, because people are going to argue, well, if the quarterback isn't throwing him the ball, those stats don't help.
Yeah, well, and right now, right now you could talk about like Myles Garrett. Guy just broke the sack record, and he's not even. It's not in the conversation, right? Like he's maybe third or fourth or fifth in the conversation, but it's really a 2-horse race. And then the last one I think to win it was Adrian Peterson, and I think he ran for like a ridiculous total yardage combined.
Yeah, so
and
in
he
2000,
himself was a
2012 was his MVP season. So apparently him and Peyton Manning were the only ones to receive votes for MVP in 2012. Adrian Peterson got 30.5 votes. I don't know how you got half, unless it was that one person vote for them both to be number one. I don't know. But that particular year, so to compare and contrast, so Peyton Manning, he was 400 of 583. I don't know what the math is on that. It's somewhere in the high 60s or close to 70 for 4,600 yards, 37 touchdowns, 11 picks. Adrian Peterson, it was his 2,000-yard season. He had 348 carries, 2,097 yards, 12 touchdowns. He also had 217 yards receiving and a touchdown. So he went for over 2,300 total yards and 13 touchdowns. Like that's the kind of season it takes to beat a guy. Like I feel like if you were to give the stats of 400 for 500. I'll actually bring up Peyton Manning's stats from 2012 just to make it easier. So 68.6% completion percentage, which led the NFL, for 4,659 yards, 37 touchdowns. Like I bet you if you handed those stats to somebody this year, that person would be in the conversation for MVP.
Yeah.
Now they may not win it, but like that's an end. Like this year, that person would be in the conversation for MVP. And so
there's also, there's obviously it's unlikely, but there is a chance that like you could go co-MVPs. It's happened a couple times over the last like 30 years. And there's a path, and it's not super likely where one of them wins with receiving less first place votes. Like you could hypothetically see a scenario where, and again, both ways, where like Maye gets 25 first place votes and Stafford gets 27 first place votes, but Maye gets, Stafford gets 25 and Maye gets. What is it? It's 50. Yes,
it's 50 writers.
All right, yeah. Excuse me, that's what it is.
Like, say it's like split, where you get like it's like 20. It's like it's either split 25-25 or like 26 first and 24 second.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. So it's like 26 to 24, and then Stafford, and then Maye has more second place votes, and there's a couple votes couple voters that happen to put Stafford in the 3 category type of thing. Again, I think it's like pretty unlikely that we see a scenario where either of them drop to a 3 spot in the vote. I guess you might see a voter put like Myles Garrett in the 2 spot. Like I could see that. I could maybe see Trevor Lawrence in the 2 spot. But
when do they announce the finalists for the awards?
I'm not sure the exact date. But anyways, it kind of going off rant. Things like the advanced metrics, like, and there's 3 that I look at that, if you actually know what it is, I think that they're pretty good general ideas of how play is. EPA, expected points against the average. Essentially, and I'm trying to dumb this down the best way I can. The average outcome of each play of what the metric believes happens. Guy rolls out to his right, like on that play, like on average, this happens. They evaluate that, and if you make a bad play that you should have made, you get a negative result. If you make a play that probably was a little above special or a little above expectation, you get a positive grade. It's a pretty good metric overall to kind of evaluate. And Drake May's number is significantly higher than Stafford's. He's in the 200 club of, I believe there was 16 players that have had a 200 plus EPA
for a season,
of the 16.
Right?
Yeah, in a season. Of those 16, 11 won the MVP. And then of the other 5, 4 of them didn't win the MVP because someone else in that season also had 200 plus EPA.
Yeah. So one of the 16 wasn't a 200 EPA MVP. Do you happen to know who it was? Off the top of your head? I don't. I'm just curious.
No.
Okay.
I could go find the list, but
yeah. And like one thing I wanted to throw out there before I forget is, and this is another one of those like intangible arguments. If you take the quarterbacks and you flop who they play for, I think you can maybe subjectively, because you can't put Drake May on the Rams, you can't put Matt Stafford on the Patriots. But if you put Drake May on the Rams, would he have better stats than what Matt Stafford put up this year? And or worse, and then if you do the same thing with Matt Stafford on the Patriots, would he have as good a season as Drake May or not? And to me, I think Drake May on the Rams is better than what Matt Stafford did. But I would say that Matt Stafford probably has as good of a season, or maybe slightly less, if he was on the Patriots. Because Matt Stafford historically, if you look at, he basically had like nobody to throw the ball to the year that they won the Super Bowl. It was like Cooper Kupp basically had like 1.5 knees, and they didn't have Puka Nacua, like he wasn't on the team yet. So like to me, like I look at Stafford and say like he probably could have a comparable season to Drake May if Matt Stafford was a Patriot. But if you put in my opinion, if you put Drake May on the Rams, I think he puts up a better statistical season than Matt Stafford.
So I'm kind of like, I agree, but like a little bit different. I think that like if you put May on the Rams, he puts up a very similar season statistically. I think if you put Stafford on the Patriots, doesn't matter.
So so Drake May on the Rams matches
puts up a similar to Stafford's
to Stafford. Okay.
Numbers.
Okay.
But I think if you put Stafford on the Patriots, he doesn't meet May's numbers. And my explanation on that is kind of simple. Stafford was a statue, and he was literally called a statue because I was told that you shouldn't count rushing yards because he's a statue, and it's unfair.
Drake May's rushing yards don't count because Matt Stafford doesn't run.
Yeah, I think in this scenario, part of the reason, and not going a little bit off of the conversation, Matt Collins, Kayshon Boutte, and Stephon Diggs all had completion catch percentages that were I think it was about 8 to 9% for Hollins, about 10% for Boutte, and about 13% for Diggs. Diggs led the league in catch percentage, and it was about 13% higher than his career average. When you look at that,
and are you talking about like it's strictly like catches related to targets?
Yes. What percentage of their targets did they receive?
Yep. Okay.
And all three of them saw a significant increase in catch percentage this year. From now, obviously Boutte hasn't played that long, but like Matt Collins, I think it's about 9% higher than anything else he saw. Kayshon Diggs sits around 70% career average. It's 83% this year with the with Maye. So you kind of look at that and you say, like, that is 100% a Maye thing. You can't tell me it's the wide receiver if it's something that's happening across the board to all the wide receivers. Matt Collins didn't wake up this year and decide to become a star receiver.
No.
Like, another thing I was told, that Matt Collins was hitting his peak at 32 years old. Like what are we doing here?
Yeah. And I'll be the first one to say that I gotta eat it a little bit because I wasn't really enthralled by the Matt Collins signing.
No, he's been certainly better than what I expected him to be. He's been a pretty really rock solid piece for them. But the reality is he's decent. He's decent. And he's a guy that
you could argue that he had his second best career season as a New England.
I would say arguably his best season. Like it's
and here's
right there. I know.
And here's the reason why I say it wasn't. In 2022, he caught 57 balls for almost 700 yards and 4 touchdowns with the Raiders. I would argue that that's a better season than this year, just because he had more catches, more yards, more touchdowns. Like he literally had better statistics in that season he had all year. But I mean, granted, he only played one season in Buffalo, but like he had a better year this year than last year. And last year he was catching passes from the NFL's MVP, who last year and I mean he wasn't deserving in my opinion, but that's a story for
this is kind of a not jackass way to put it, but like just that comment alone from a Rams fan is everything you need to know in saying Drake Maye is the MVP. The fact that someone came out and said that Matt Collins was peaking as a receiver at 32 years old tells you clearly it's Drake Maye that's responsible for it. And again, it's across the board. It's not like, Diggs changed something dramatically about his game or Boutte changed. Like all three of them saw it. And that goes into the COPE, which is catch percentage over expectation. That basically takes, and it's not 100% a QB stat because it is the wide receiver is going to catch it too. But that takes the average play. They have the analytics to say that this was a 50%. It's kind of like a home run. Like, you know what I mean? This had a 50% chance of going out. Or when they do like ESPN Sunday baseball and it's like strikeout probability, like I think Apple TV does it actually, when it's like a 1-2 count versus a 2-2 count, all that type of thing. And the fact that his number is so notably higher, and we can pull this up. I just posted about it the other day. I mean, today. Where is it? This is a map from Cut Call, and they put EPA per play and then CPOE, like I mentioned, catch percentage over expectation. And they did a map, and I'll retweet it now for anybody that wants to listen to it. But I mean, to look at it. But Maye is the furthest right. He is, I don't know if I can put it up. He is all the way over here. There is no one near him on catch percentage over expectation. No one even close. he was nearly 10% above catch, catch percentage over expectation. So when you look at that again, it's telling you that he is the direct link to the responsibility of raising this offense. You can't look at those numbers, EPA, CPOE, and then there's also QBERT, which isn't a super common thing, but Nate Silver came out with it. It's a pretty dynamic, and it accounts for like everything that he was also the lead of. You can't look at those things and say, when you look at what the award is, and you mentioned baseball, it's just kind of like a stats award, right? Football, you go back and forth. Like, is it a stat award? Is it a true who is the most valuable? You can't look at this situation and argue that it's not Maye. Those numbers tell you that it is him. You can't have three different receivers who all have the highest efficiency year possible. You can't have a CPOE that has never been touched about an MVP over the last like 15 years by a mile. You can't have a situation where everything around you is above expectation and have it not be the QB. Like that doesn't make any sense. So when you talk about the word valuable, I think the answer is pretty dang clear that it's him. And going into the strength of schedule conversation, and I won't go too deep into this, but first of all, yes, they had a very easy schedule, and there's no denying that they had an easy schedule, especially compared to Maye. But there's two conversations with that. One, this is the NFL. They're not playing in D3, right? They're not playing D3 teams as Alabama. That's just not even close to the situation.
I got to plug in my laptop. Apparently, I don't have it plugged in, but I'm still listening.
It's all right. They're playing a situation where they're playing NFL teams, right? And you can't call the Patriots schedule a cupcake schedule when the Rams went and lost to two of those teams. On top of that, people make the comment, "Oh, they only won one game against teams over 500."
Which is true, but it's
yeah. And then I ask people, and I say, rank these five teams: the Steelers, Ravens, Panthers, Falcons, and Bucks. And I asked multiple Rams fans this question, or people online, whether they're Rams fans or not, and they won't answer the question.
Yeah, I think though, like to your point though, and I hope I'm not stealing your thunder by like pivoting a little bit, but to that argument, and you've made this argument, other people have made this argument as well. It's not just teams above 500, or it's not about like your strength of schedule, because it's like, okay, well, like how many times did the Patriots and Rams play teams that were 8-9, 9-8, right? Where I'm going with this is you look at the Patriots beat the Browns and the Falcons. Okay. I don't know if the Rams played Cleveland, but they lost to the Falcons. At the time that the Patriots played those two teams, and they played them back-to-back weeks, those two teams, the weeks the Patriots played them, had the number one pass defense in the NFL. So it's misleading to say, well, the Patriots went 1-2 against teams with a positive record over 500. Positive winning percentage. We'll go with that route.
Yeah, because I
saw somebody say positive and negative records, and I'm like, that's just an asinine way to describe these two things.
Well, yeah, because you don't have some teams are bad but have good defenses, and some teams are good and have bad defenses. The 49ers are 12-5, and they got a dog shit pass defense.
Correct, and same thing,
and vice versa.
The only team in that division that has a good defense is Seattle, and the Rams still hung 37 points on them in Seattle, and would have won the game if Seattle didn't succeed on the 2-point conversion at the end of the game. But it's like, you look at, like, for example, right? Okay, prime example. The Cleveland Browns finished with the fourth best defense in the NFL this year. They gave up 282.6 yards per game. The Patriots beat them. The Rams didn't play them. The Falcons didn't finish with a great overall defense. And their pass defense kind of fell off. But at the time that the Patriots played the Browns and the Falcons, they had the number one pass defense at the time the Patriots played them, and the Patriots beat them both times. And it's not just that, right? Like I'll just bring up his stats. So Drake Maye against the Atlanta Falcons. I'm sorry, the Cleveland Browns first. 282 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. I don't know what the interception was. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know if it was a him problem or if it was like a deflection and just happened to fall in the other guy's hands. The following week against Atlanta, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. So Josh Allen didn't score against the Atlanta Falcons in the game that they played against. Well, he didn't throw touchdown passes. Maybe he ran for a touchdown or two. But when you peel the layers back, just because the Cleveland Browns are a bad team doesn't mean that they had a bad pass defense. Or same thing with the Falcons, and and the same thing with the Rams, right? Like the Rams played Seattle twice. Seattle has the number 6 or number 8 overall defense in the NFL this year. So, but to your point, and I'll let you carry on. It's misleading when you go, oh well, Patriots had a cupcake, strength of schedule. Well, so did the 1999 Rams when they won the Super Bowl and Kurt Warner was the MVP.
Yeah, I mean Cam Newton won it, and he had the 30-second strength schedule. But it's also back to what I was saying is, I asked those people to rank those 5 teams I mentioned. And
where were you at? If you don't mind elaborating, where were you going with that?
So it was based off the conversation of, they're only 1 win versus teams above 500, right? So then I took the Steelers that are above 500. And I took 4, 8, and 9 teams that the Patriots beat, all 4 of them, and I asked people to rank them. And they wouldn't rank them because they know if they're honest about it, they'll take at least 1 or 2, if not more, of those 4 teams and put them above the 10-win Steelers. Which that alone tells you, well, your conversation of above 500 is just drawing a make-believe line in the sand to push your argument, even though a team like the Ravens are a better team, at least in my opinion, than the Steelers. I would take the Bucs over the Steelers as well. And so, and on top of that, and this was the funnier one when I was going back and forth, because they use the strength of schedule to not only take down May, but to take down the Patriots too. So their argument is that the Patriots aren't a 14-win team, right? Like that's what they're saying.
They're not like a true 14-win team because they played a bunch of easy teams.
So, if you're going to use strength of schedule that is records in your argument, and use it to say that a team's record is not accurate to the actual quality of team that they are, how are you then going to argue that other teams' records are all matched up to the team that they are? Don't tell me, the Ravens weren't above 500. The Ravens are better than a 8-9 team. Like they're better than an 8-9 team. That's
their talent is Lamar Jackson missed a month and they lost every single game he didn't play in.
So it just completely contradicts the argument of, strength of schedule records to teams above 500. But then sit there and say, well, the Patriots aren't really a 14-win team. So it's like it just doesn't make any type of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say just to throw in just a little bit of a devil's advocate, like the Patriots won 14 games in part because they're a much more talented team than some of those teams they played, and like it. If they had played, like if you take their 2026 schedule, if they had played that schedule this year, would they have won 14 games? Probably not. But at the same time, it's not like the Patriots were barely beating some of those bottom of the barrel teams. And I understand
they smoked the Browns, they smoked the Jets, they smoked the Ravens. I mean the Dolphins. They smoked the Titans. Like none of these were really like games.
And they should have smoked the Saints, but they had a couple of bogus calls go against them that cost them at least 14 points. And
they still won rather, relatively comfortably. It was never really that much.
Like they should have been close to 40 points in that game if they didn't, take away 2 touchdowns with phantom calls. But I digress.
Yeah, and to kind of put a bow on the MVP conversation here, it's the argument for Stafford is two things. One, he has more touchdowns. He does. There's no doubt about that. That's arguably the most important one individual stat that you can have. And two, he played it against a tougher strength of schedule. But as we just talked about, if you play a tougher strength of schedule, that's great. But if you have much better weapons around you, does that not also counteract the concept of facing better talent? If you playing with better talent against better talent, and the other person is playing lesser talent with lesser talent, how does that
Kind of
not
a
at least,
it's kind of a wash.
yeah, at least to a notable extent, wash them out? If you had put Puka and Devontae Adams on the Patriots this year,
Drake May throws 50
Drake
touchdowns,
May Drake May throws for 5 to 10, 15 more touchdowns than he did probably.
and
If you took
he's probably sniffing 5,000 yards.
if you took Diggs and Matt Collins and put them on the Rams this year, what are the stats?
They're way less.
They're way less. So and that's just a new argument that I just thought of on the spot.
Can't wait to see you tweet about this for the next 6 hours of your life.
Yeah. And so, when I look at that, and it's like you can't say, oh, strength of strength of schedule, but the same guy that's playing the tougher schedule also is throwing to arguably the best wide receiver in football, the guy that's probably going to win Offensive Player of the Year.
And if he doesn't, it's going to be really close between him and JSN.
Yeah, and he's arguably the best wide receiver in football, if not top 3 to 5 at worst right now.
Yep.
And so that argument just
Matt,
doesn't make sense.
He's just a 5th round pick from BYU.
Oh man, the arguments have been hilarious, dude. Did you know that Stafford has had to fly around more than Drake May this year?
I didn't realize he was flapping his arms. That's a bummer.
For some reason,
in the
private airplanes.
Yeah,
in the private airplanes that they take around the world
doesn't have prop odds on awards.
But anyways, and that's what it kind of comes down to, though, for Stafford. It's yards. I mean, it's touchdowns, and it's that he played a harder schedule, which, just like I just mentioned, that already alone just kind of gets defeated in the argument. You go to a team like, an argument for Drake May, and you can say it was aided a little bit by an easier schedule, but that's sure. But he blows everybody.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but
he blows everybody away.
That's an objective fact, though. Yes, the schedule was easier, and they took advantage of it. No Patriots fan is arguing that is arguing the Patriots didn't have an easy schedule. No one's making that argument because you can't.
Yeah, but the numbers tell you that Drake May had arguably the most efficient uprising schedule performance in many years, arguably ever. No, like I just mentioned in the CPOE, he's way above any other MVP in recent years. Way above.
Right.
He's in an EPA that is in the top 16 ever. And again, I'm saying efficiency. I'm not saying he had a better year than 07 Brady or something like that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's had the best season ever. No. But efficiency wise, yeah, maybe. He might have.
Sorry, quick Pat's update. Robert Spillane was a full participant in practice today.
That's really good. That's really big.
Thayer Munford limited yesterday, did not practice today, so that's not good. And then Garrett Bradbury and Vidarian Lowe were both out with an illness, so it's not an injury designation. The Munford thing's a little concerning because it looks like Tonga's not going to play, although Munford's more of a tackle tight end guy. He doesn't play on defense. And then this one thing I wanted to add in, because I brought this up to a buddy of mine I was talking to earlier about the whole MVP thing. So this is my last thing, that putting a ball in this MVP chat. There's 4 stats that I shared with you, and then it ended up cycling through Twitter. I'm going to give you 4 stats from Drake Maye from 2025, and then a caveat below it. Completion percentage 71.95%, 6th all time. Passer rating of 113.5, 13th all time. Don't love the passer rating stat because it's a little bit misleading, but still 13th all time in passer rating of any quarterback, any season, anywhere. QBR of 77.2, 24th best all time. And I want to say he was number 1 or 2 this year in QBR. And then his 8.9 yards per attempt average, 36th all time, and I believe he was number 1 this year. All 4 of those stats would be career highs for Matt Stafford.
Say it again. Which 2?
So there's 4 stats: 71.95% completion percentage, 113.5 passer rating, 77.2 QBR, 8.9 yards per attempt average.
Oh yeah, okay, yes.
All 4 of those stats, all 4 of those numbers, if you assign it to Matt Stafford, would be career highs for him. And Drake Maye did it in his first year as a full-time starter at 23.
Yeah.
That's
the.
And I'm not saying
that
that's
what
tips the scales, but that's where I'll kind of end my plug for why I think Drake Maye is more deserving of the MVP award. Is those 4 things are things that Matt Stafford has not accomplished in 15. Well, he was a 2009 number 1 pick. Yeah, so in 16 seasons, he has not accomplished what Drake Maye did in his first full year as a starter.
Yeah, and that's the final thing I'll talk about. This isn't a lifetime achievement award, and this goes to Tom Brady, who kind of suggested it a little bit, and Andrew Whitworth, who kind of suggested it a little bit.
He kind of just basically came out and said it.
Well, Whitworth was it's Stafford, and he gave no explanation why.
Yeah,
he's just it's Stafford. But anyways, you can't come out and say, "Oh, well, Maye has many more years to win an MVP."
Which is a true statement, but it's not a reason why he shouldn't be this year.
Yeah, that's not how this works. This doesn't go, "Oh, well, Stafford's 37 and this is could cap off a Hall of Fame career, and so let's give it to him." This isn't a pity award. This is an MVP award. It's who was the best and most valuable player. And as I mentioned, if you look at all the efficiency numbers, all the extra data between the 2 of them, Drake Maye brought this Patriots offense to a level that they never could have really even possibly dreamed preseason of reaching. Not even a prayer in the world did we, in our expectations, think this offense would be where it was in 3rd in scoring this year. That's what it comes down to for me. There is no one in the NFL that has been more valuable in raising their team this season than Drake Maye. But
agreed.
I will leave it at that. Let's transition, and we'll finish up with a quick wild card weekend. Patriots, the 3 day, like you said, 70 3.5 hours away.
Yeah, something like that.
73.5 hours away. The Patriots are hosting the Chargers. I posted a post from 98.5 actually, Felger, and I messaged you about this. Felger and Mavs were talking about it, so I should give them the credit for doing the research on it. But he used the word dome, so I just posted it as dome, and that seemed to upset a lot of people. I'm talking about indoor teams, in teams that play covered from the elements, that are protected from the elements, that don't have to deal with snow and rain and sleet and heavy winds. Those teams, for example, the Cowboys. What are you doing?
I was saying 1-14.
Oh yeah, the Cowboys, the Falcons, the Vikings, the Colts. These teams that play in indoor stadiums are 1-14 over the last decade in the playoffs. I'm not sure who the one win was. I did try to look just in recent years, and yeah, the numbers kind of what I quickly looked at for the few years back, like they kept losing. The dome team going to an away stadium kept losing. It's not something I'm not. No one's sitting here and saying, "Oh well, the Chargers can't win in the snow." So blah 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 blah. Chargers went in. Granted, Casey's not nearly what it was, and Mahomes got hurt towards the end of the game and all that. But they went into KC, played well. They came into New England late last year. The Patriots were a disaster at that point, but they smoked the Pats. It's not saying I wasn't sitting there, and obviously, again, this is just like fans getting defensive. I wasn't sitting there saying that the Chargers can't beat the Patriots. I just heard a stat, I put it out there, and people took what it was.
Yeah.
Then it turned
Now,
into
what weren't there caveats on that statistic though? Like, wasn't it over the last 10 years when a dome team plays a team outside, but wasn't it specifically
under 40 degrees?
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I wasn't.
Yeah,
sure
it didn't count like if you went to San Francisco, like you know what I mean, to play San Fran or at Miami or at Tampa or something like that. No, it was below 40 degrees. Yeah, I should have specified that. But it was, and then it turned into the conversation that is SoFi Stadium an indoor stadium, and you and I talked about this.
It's mostly an indoor stadium.
like listen, and this is for the people that went back and forth. And boy, did some people get really upset about it. When you can't get rained on, when you can't get snowed on, when there's never any notable wind, when I have to walk 100 yards away from the field to get into your open air stadium, you play indoors. Like, you play indoors. I've been to that stadium. Not only do you, and it's closed on the sides too, so it's not like it's people call it a canopy, and then someone was like, "Oh, if I stand under an umbrella, am I indoors?" No, it's closed on the sides. It's open on the ends. It's open air entrance. When it rains, it doesn't reach the field. If there can be heavy winds and it only goes a little bit into like the concourses, it doesn't touch the field. Okay. You play indoors.
Yeah. By the way, I almost found the one. I'm listening and researching. I almost found the one win, and I was really hoping that I was wrong, and I'm glad I am. In 2019, the Chargers went to Baltimore and beat the Ravens. I believe that was Lamar Jackson's rookie year.
Okay, but was it above 40?
Yeah, it was 52 degrees in Baltimore that day, so that's not the one. Because I was like, oh god, I was like, please tell me the one team isn't the Chargers, because that would. I was like, that just doesn't feel right.
No, and I went back and forth with a few people. They were getting very upset. It was like, I'm just like, dude. They were like sending me a video of like it was windy and rainy one day, and like it was blowing onto like a couple of the sections, and I'm like, can we be serious in this argument right now? Even if you deal with rain, it's like 55 degrees, 60 degrees in LA. Like, you're not playing in some. Not only is it 100 yards from the end of the stadium that you have to like walk in, the field is underground, so the wind that comes in doesn't even really. It goes above. It goes above the field. Who is it?
Yeah. So the one win, assuming that the statistic is correct and that it's only one win over the last decade, was ironically the other LA team that plays at SoFi Stadium. The LA Rams in the 2020-2021 playoffs. That was the 2020 season is the year that SoFi Stadium opened. I believe this is when the Rams. No, that was when it was in Tampa. So that particular year, the Rams beat Seattle in Seattle, and it was 39 degrees at kickoff.
Oh, Jesus! So if that's the one, there you go. Seattle doesn't. That might make sense because I remember them mentioning something about Seattle, and they're like, it doesn't even really get that cold in Seattle. Like, it's not like Seattle doesn't get like usually like into the teens in single digits where they play. But anyways, to this weekend. What are your overall thoughts? Like, obviously, this is the first playoff game since I guess 2021 when they got their ass kicked, but
And
first
it was.
playoff game in a while that they actually have a chance. You feel like they could maybe make a run. Where's your
Yeah.
confidence level, and how do you think things are going to play out?
So I'm cautiously optimistic. I realize the Patriots lost all three of their games this year at Gillette. Two of them came early in the season when the Patriots really hadn't found their identity yet. Obviously looking back, it's like, they came out really flat against Vegas in week one. Week three, they committed 5 turnovers against the Steelers, which I think Matt, you and me and most, if not all of Patriots Twitter would agree that if the Patriots don't commit 5 turnovers, they beat the Steelers. Um, and then of course you have the game, the Bills game a month ago or whatever it was, where they kind of had their second half meltdown, and lost. And even Drake May had the ball in his hands late in the game. Not a great day for him. But this is kind of where I'm at. I know that I wrote kind of a lengthy report to you that you were like, who wrote that? And I don't believe that it was you. Um, it was me. I just was bored and felt like writing something up. Um, so obviously the Patriots at home, I like us at home, for a couple of reasons. My my summary, with the Chargers, right? You have a good veteran quarterback with a strong arm, throws a really good deep ball. He's got weapons at his disposal. It's a good defensive team. The surface metrics kind of show that they're roughly in the same realm, the same category as the Patriots. When you get into more of the advanced stuff, I think that the Chargers defense has the edge there, in the DVOA and all those metrics. I think they have a couple of they have two good young wide receivers in McConkey and Quentin Johnston. Obviously, Keenan Allen brings a veteran presence. He's been there before. Hasn't won, but he's been around the block a dozen times at this point. Good young tight end. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if they have a weak point, and this is kind of like my key to the game, which I'll get to at the end. The offensive line is pretty banged up. Herbert's playing with a broken left hand, and not obviously non-throwing hand, but if he bangs up his left hand, like, he's not going to be feeling great, especially in the cold weather. Um, and then obviously, we've all seen the Patriots play 17 games. You've got obviously you have Drake May, who's a possible MVP candidate. You have two good coaches. The Patriots are healthier than the Chargers at this point in the season. It's the end of a 17-game football season. Like, no one's 100%, but the Patriots don't have any injuries at any major spots on either side of the ball. They get Milton Williams back last week, and both he and Christian Barmore, two of the best interior run pass rushers in the league. I'd have to look at the numbers. I know one of them was third in the NFL, and I forget if the other one was first or second, but they have two of the three best.
Barmore was second. Milton Williams was third in pressure rate from defensive tackles.
Yeah. So you have great interior pass rush, and so that's kind of my key to the game. The Chargers are banged up along the offensive line, and the Patriots have their full complement at this point of their defense. Their first and second line defense. It's expected that Harold Landry will play. I know, again, he's banged up. Between him and Caleb on Chason, you have two decent edge rushers. I think they combined for like 15 or 16 sacks. Landry led the team with 8.5, and Chason had like 6.5 or 7 sacks, whatever it is. And so what I'm expecting is like a low to mid scoring game. Early low to mid 20s. I kind of feel is where both teams end up. Barring a defensive score or a special teams, a punt return touchdown type of situation. Um, I like the Pats to win. I picked them 24-20. I think Drake May plays like, that kind of MVP style candidate. The weather looks pretty decent for Foxborough this time of year. You're looking at like low to mid 40s during the day. It'll be dry by the time kickoff happens, which has kind of been May's bugaboo. If you look at the games that he hasn't really played well in, it's been in either cold, like really cold, or poor weather games. Didn't throw the ball well against the Bills in that game, and that wasn't a great weather game. So, hopefully there's that. So again, final summary, like Pats are at home. I understand that they lost all 3 games at home this year, but they didn't really play poorly outside of that Steelers game. Um, the Chargers were decent on the road, but don't really have any signature road wins. Um, their road wins were the Raiders, Dolphins, Titans, Cowboys, and Chiefs. And the Chiefs win was later in the season when Pat Mahomes tore his ACL and he didn't have basically anybody to throw the ball to. And they have a couple of bad road losses. They lost to the Giants and they lost to the Jags by 29 on the road. So I like the Pats in a close kind of mid-scoring game, 24-20, 26-21, like somewhere in that range. Is kind of where I'm at. I would say my confidence level is probably like a 6.5, and that's just kind of where I live. I'm not going into this game thinking that we're gonna like put belt to ass. Like I don't feel that way. Could it happen? Sure. I just don't. I just don't see it unless things really go south for the Chargers. Justin Herbert does not have good playoff success. That's certainly working against him. He's looked very bad in both of his playoff games. They had the meltdown, what was it, 3 years ago against the Chargers. I'm sorry, against the Jags, where they had a 27-0 lead and lost 31-30. And then last year, was it the Texans? He threw 4 interceptions and they just completely fell apart. And that was, and for the record, that was in a dome. He didn't play well in his own stadium, climate control situation. Granted, the Texans defense is legit, but I like the Pats in a low scoring game. Like I said, low to mid scoring game, probably 1 score. Again, something like a 24-20.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not terribly far off. There's 3 keys to this for me. One is one that you mentioned, kind of the Chargers O line is in really rough shape right now.
Is Joe Alt healthy? Do you know? I know he's
No.
been in and out, but I know they don't have Slater. He's done for the year.
No, their O line right now is arguably the worst due to injuries, and that plays a factor where, excuse me, the Patriots don't have an elite edge rushers, but Harold Landry and Chase on need to come out and play good games. And then Barmore and Milton Williams need to come out and play like they play. If they do, Mekhi Becton has been awful at right guard. Awful. And his replacement, if he gets benched, I forget what his name isn't really any better.
Might as well be you.
Their ability to create pressure is going to be very, very big. And obviously stopping the run, we think Hampton will end up playing, even though he missed practice yesterday.
He missed practice again today. He did not practice. So Hampton did not, though I just brought it up. So real quick, I know you're going over your thing. So the Chargers had 4 players that who did not practice today, which is a little different than yesterday. So yesterday they didn't have Keenan Allen, Austin DeSoulis, who's one of their offensive tackles. They didn't have Bud Dupree. They didn't have Omarion Hampton, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Delshon Phillips, or Kendall Williamson. Williamson, Lambert-Smith, Hampton, and Dupree again did not practice today. Those other guys who didn't practice yesterday. Keenan Allen was a full participant. He's just, like I said, he's the veteran guy. I think it's a rest thing. But Dupree has a hamstring, so if he's not practicing today with a hamstring injury, that's not good for them. Omarion Hampton has an ankle issue, so if he's not practicing 2 weeks in a row, that's not good for him either. I suspect that they'll shoot him up with something and try to get him to go. It's the playoffs. Like, you can't have one of your better players and possibly a top running back in this league moving forward. But, that's kind of big where Hampton did not practice again today. So go on.
Yeah, I mean, so if Hampton doesn't go, obviously that's a little bit of a hit. But their ability to obviously slow down the run as well, the defensive line is going to kind of be the biggest factor because, LA's got a good receiving core. I expect, the Patriots got a decent secondary right now. Maybe you could call it solid, but it's not like dominant type of secondary by any means.
No.
So, they're gonna
Gonzalez, it's a little sketchy.
Yeah, they're not going to be a team that's going to shut you down in the secondary, but if you can create pressure and slow down the run and make Justin Herbert truly beat you, like you'll put yourself in a good spot, regardless, of your thoughts on Justin Herbert. It just makes it that much more difficult.
Right.
And then two, it's if you protect Drake May, I think it's going to be
Yeah.
very difficult for them to lose. Chargers play a lot. Chargers don't blitz a lot, and they play a lot of too high safety. So that tells you two things. One, if you protect to the way you can protect, you shouldn't give up a lot of pressures. And two, they're going to try to take away the deep ball. That says Stephon Diggs game. That says
Pop
Matt
Douglas.
Collins game in the intermediate. Pop Douglas, maybe a little bit of Kyle Williams in
Well, they're
some
not.
in some
Well,
facets.
Matt Collins is on IR. He's not
Oh yeah,
eligible.
excuse me. Efton Chisholm, excuse me. I don't know where he'll get his snaps, but he seems to be playing a little bit like instead of Pop Douglas. So, and then obviously the way the Pats use their running backs out of the backfield are very big things. I mean, we saw the touchdown pass to Stevenson this past week against the Jets. If they're able to protect Mac Jones, oh God. If they're able to protect Drake May, did you even pick up on that?
I mean, when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, there's your Freudian slip.
Yeah. If they're able to protect Drake May, I don't see the Chargers being able to slow down this offense because I think that Drake May can beat them in the short game, in the long game, and the Patriots run game is on the rise at a great time, at a great time. Henderson and Stevenson are both playing really good football. And just aside, props to Stevenson. I will give him all the props in the world. I was very hard on him going into the season, and then early with the fumbles, but he's come around. He's playing good football right now. So if they can, and that's the third thing, if they can establish the run, combine that with protecting Drake May, I just don't see where they'll keep the Patriots under like 26, 27 points. Now, the Chargers are playing good defense right now. They got a really good defense right now. So, if they're going to throw the kitchen sink at May, they're going to show a lot of different looks at him, and they're going to try to confuse him. It's not a perfect picture. I think we both can sit here and say, like, would we be shocked if the Chargers came in and won? No. I mean, like, the Chargers are a good football team, and no matter what we feel about the Patriots, like, we know that they're unproven at this moment in terms of playoffs,
Yep.
Accomplishments. So while we both feel confident that they'll win, it's a cautious optimism. And so that's kind of where I'll kind of keep it at that. Score wise, I'm feeling something. I'm feeling about 29, 21 type of thing, 29, 23 maybe, something in that range, maybe 30,
Very odd
21,
number to
something
pick.
like that. Well, in playoffs, something usually weird happens,
That's true.
whether
And
it's
then one,
like,
yeah, you get like
good.
a weird, yeah. I was just gonna say one thing I wanted to add. So I've been trying to Google while I was listening to you, and I don't quite understand where Pro Football Focus is getting these numbers from, but I'm pretty sure they ranked the teams in the playoffs based on sacks allowed. But again, I'm not exactly sure where this is coming from because some people, this is on X, and some people said, oh, well, how have the Broncos only given up 6 sacks all season? Well, that's not correct because it's just literally not correct. I think like Bo Nix, he was sacked way more than that. But anyway, so I'm pretty sure it's a ranking of like where they rank in terms of sacks allowed, like, 1 through 32. I'm pretty sure, but they only went as far down as the worst ranked team. So they basically have like 1 through 29. I don't know why they don't go to 32. So again, I'm not exactly sure what exactly this is, like how they're ranking these teams, but they have the Broncos as the best offensive line. And then with whatever this ranking is, 6th in the NFL. And then they have the Chargers O line ranked 29th. So I don't know if this is like, it says sacks allowed, but I don't know if they're throwing in like their grading system. But they have the Chargers as the worst offensive line of any team in the playoffs in terms of sacks. I did find a list that has according to NFLPickWatch.com, the Broncos gave up 23 sacks this year, whereas the Chargers gave up 60, which like that number makes sense because they're tied for 29th in sacks allowed, with the Jets and the Vikings. But some of these other numbers don't make sense. Like they have the Patriots at 48 sacks, which ranks 23rd, but Pro Football Focus has them at 13. So again, like I don't know what intern at Pro Football Focus was having trouble today, but it is true that the Denver Broncos have the best offensive line of any playoff team, and that the Chargers are the exact opposite. Only one team gave up more sacks than the Chargers, and it was the Las Vegas Raiders who gave up 64 sacks this year. So, which is why I had my number one key was the Pats defensive line able to get pressure on Justin Herbert. But I think the same is true. I think the Patriots offensive line has to hold up against a Chargers pass rush, which I mean, you said they don't blitz a lot. They rank 9th in the NFL in sacks this year as a defense. So
yeah, they got a good pass rush.
They can get after the quarterback without sending a blitzer. Which is why I think like having somebody like a Thayer Munford would be really important. Like hopefully he can play. He didn't practice today, but hopefully he can play because he allows you to go jumbo. And so if they can keep Drake May clean, I think that's kind of like a 1B to the Patriots being able to get after Herbert being a 1A key. And then just because I brought up the Chargers injury report, Pat's injury report from today, 4 guys did not practice. Bradbury and Lowe were both sick. Tonga with a foot. And it looks like he probably won't play because it's back-to-back do not practice days for him. Munford was limited yesterday, did not practice today with a knee injury. And then they had 4 guys limited. Alex Austin with a wrist, Booty with a hamstring. Landry was limited with a knee. Jared Wilson is still in concussion protocol, so there's some questions there. But guys who were full participants in practice that were not full earlier this week: Jack Gibbons, Hunter Henry, Anthony Jennings, Morgan Moses, and Robert Spillane.
Okay. I mean, it's
huge. And that's if you have Spillane and they don't have Amari and Hampton, like that's a
big
double,
flip.
That's a double win for us.
Yeah, that's a big. I mean, losing Spillane has been tough in the run game. The Patriots definitely need to get better. They struggled in the second half after being a dominant run game and team in the first half of the season. But this is going to be a dogfight, and you got 2 teams that like to play hard, like to play physical. Does coming and playing in New England a big factor? No, I don't think it's a huge factor, but you got a team coming from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. You got a team coming in that plays indoors, and going in and play, and it's going to be, I mean, at least the weather I saw, I don't know exactly for game time, but it shows rain on Sunday. I don't know. It might stop during the day. I
don't see rain anymore. It changed. It's supposed to rain Saturday night.
Yeah. So the way on mine, it looks that like it's going to stop around like 5 or 6 p.m.
Weird. Yeah. So weather.com, showers in the morning, clearing in the afternoon, high of 41, chance of rain 60%. So the high temperature of the day is 41, low is 25. So with an 8 o'clock start, I'm expecting the game to be somewhere in like the low to mid 30s at kickoff.
Yeah, so this feels like temperature. Actual temperature, they project at 8 p.m. it to be 32 degrees with a feel like temperature of
probably
26 degrees. 26 degrees. So, is that a bonus for the Patriots? Maybe, maybe not. It's not like Drake May has a ton of experience playing in the cold either. So we'll see. Obviously, it's an exciting weekend for the Pats. I know if the Patriots lose, I'll have plenty of people in my mentions. That's for sure. And that'll be funny. That'll be fun to handle. But because if May comes out and dominates the Chargers, I'm going to be absolutely insufferable. Especially if the Rams happen to lose, I would be mind-blowing insufferable for everybody. So, all right, any final thoughts?
No, I think that quick round table. I would go just for picks for the weekend. Pats, Bills, Texans, Rams, Packers, Eagles.
Okay. I like the Jags. I really do. They're playing really good football right now. I really like them to beat Buffalo. I got the Texans against Pittsburgh. Uh, and then on the East, what do we got? Eagles, Chicago. Is that
40,
correct?
Eagles, 49ers.
49ers. Yeah, I'm gonna go. No, I'm gonna go. I'll go Eagles. I'll go Eagles. They got dysfunction, but I don't know if San Francisco. They're
Uh,
too hit or miss right now.
well, they're too
They're
injured. It looks like they're not going to have Trent Williams or Ricky Pearsall again this week.
yeah
And I mean, the Eagles
yeah
defense I don't think is quite to the same caliber as Seattle, but they're not that far off. And it's in
yeah.
Philly.
So then you get Rams, Carolina. I expect the Rams to win, but I mean, hey, they lost once there before. They're going across the country as well, so we'll see there. And then Chicago, Green Bay. That will be a dogfight. I would bet on Green Bay, just because I don't really trust the Bears. They got a dog shit defense. Another example of, like, yeah, you could have a good record doesn't mean that you have a good defense. So when you're in an MVP award, like, it's not black and white like that. But
And something to
I
add real quick to your Rams situation, the Charlotte, North Carolina weather report for Saturday, 71 degrees, rain, and possible thunderstorms.
oh boy. All right, rain would be a fun mix into that.
With 10 to
You
20
know,
mile per hour winds. Chance of
that,
rain. Chance of rain
that's not
70.
huge, but
Chance of rain
that's not
70%. Chance of rain 70%.
okay.
So
Okay,
for you betting people out there, maybe hammer the
it's all
Ram.
right. The Rams play outdoors. They're
Maybe maybe hammer
yes.
the Panthers to cover the 10.5 point spread.
The Rams play outdoors. They got all the experience in the rain, anyways. So,
Yeah, with that
um,
2 mile per hour wind that creeps in from the one window open in the left corner of the end zone.
yeah. The guy that told me, they play outdoors. You can see the sky. It's glass. It's a glass ceiling.
It's like Sarah Palin, expert on Russian foreign policy because she can see Russia from her
Uh,
house in Alaska.
all right, all right. That's gonna do it. Thank you guys, like we said, for 100 episodes. Um, Hopefully, we're back at 101, and there's a Patriots victory in another game to talk about. We will have hopefully Red Sox news, where they finally signed someone. Jaylen Brown has been phenomenal for the Celtics, but also we don't really talk a lot of Celtics, but he's been absolutely phenomenal.
Low
Shout
low
out,
low, low key MVP candidate.
yeah, literally. Shout out Red Sox Stan, who told me that Drew Holiday was better than Jaylen Brown last year. Um, and that's looking great for you. But okay, until next time, we appreciate you all, and
Thank you.
see you later.
Go Pats.
Goodbye. Go Pats. Drake May for MVP.
Drake May.
Drake MVP May.